Welcome, wanderers of the night. You've stumbled upon something different, something that won't let you sleep quite so soundly after. Welcome to the very first episode of Nightmares Served Raw, where the stories we find don't just live on the web, they crawl into your minds and stay there. In this series, we'll dig deep, unearthing some of the spookiest, most unsettling tales the internet has to offer, the kind that leaves you glancing over your shoulder or questioning that creak in the floorboards. Tonight, we're starting with a true classic, Candle Cove. A story first shared in 2009, but it feels much older, like something that's always been hiding the dark corners of your mind. Now, here's the twist. I've never read it before. I'll be discovering its eerie secrets right alongside you. Together, we'll descend into the unknown as the shadows grow darker and the air just a little bit colder. So, dim the lights, make sure you're alone, and get ready. Let's dive into Candle Cove. But remember, not every story ends when the screen goes dark. It comes more often at night, that niggling memory, gnawing in some corner of your mind like a rodent chewing the corners of the drywall. The memory of some brightly lit cartoon funland, or a world of puppets. A memory of a TV show you'd watch, seated cross-legged in the living room floor with a fixed, enthusiastic attention only a child can give. Attention that you wish now you perhaps hadn't given so freely, for there is something about that show. Something about the discordant music, the details of the character, their motivations in the storyline, the fixed maniacal grins that seemed looking back to be altogether too sinister to be a children's show. You try to block the memory out, and yet, there in the back of your mind, most often at night, the puppet's fixed grin keeps on smiling. Sky Shale 033, subject Candle Cove's local kids show. Does anyone remember the kids show? It was called Candle Cove, and I must have been 6 or 7. I never found reference to it anywhere, so I think it was on local station around 1971 or 1972. I lived in Ironton at the time. I don't remember which station, but I do remember it was on a weird time like 4 PM. Mike_Painter65, subject Candle Cove local kids show. It seems really familiar to me. I grew up outside of Ashland and was 9 years old in 72. Candle Cove, was it about pirates? I remember a pirate marionette at the mouth of the cave talking to a little girl. Sky Shale 033. Yes, okay, I'm not crazy. I remember Pirate Percy. I was always kind of scared of him. He looked like he was built from parts of other dolls. Real low budget. His head was an old porcelain baby doll. Looked like an antique that didn't belong on the body. I don't remember what station this was. I don't think it was WTSF though. Jaren_2005. Sorry to resurrect this old thread, but I know exactly what you mean, Sky Shale. I think Candle Cove ran for only a couple of months in 71, not 72. I was 12, and I watched it a few times with my brother. It was channel 58, whatever station that was. My mum would let me switch it on after the news. Let me see what I remember. It took place in Candle Cove, and it was about a little girl who imagined herself to be friends with pirates. The pirate ship was called the Laughingstock, and Pirate Percy wasn't a very good pirate because he got scared too easily. And there was calliope music constantly playing. Don't remember the girl's name. Janice or Jade or something? I think it was Janice. Skyshell 033. Thank you, Jaren. Memories flooded back from when you mentioned the Laughingstock on channel 58. I remember the bow of the ship and a wooden smiling face with the lower jaw submerged. It looked like it was swallowing the sea and had that awful Ed Wine voice and laugh. I especially remember how jarring it was when they switched from the wooden/plastic model to the foam puppet version of the head that talked. Mike_Painter65. Haha, I remember now too. Do you remember this part, Skyshade? You have to go inside. Skyshell 033. Ugh, Mike, I got a chill reading that. Yes, I remember. That's what the ship always told Percy when there was a spooky place he had to go in. Like a cave or a dark room where the treasure was. And the camera would push in on Laughingstock's face with each pause. You have to go inside. With his two eyes askew and his flopping foam jaw and the fishing line that opened and closed it up. Ugh, it just looked so cheap and awful. You guys remember the villain? He had a face that was just a handlebar mustache above really tall, narrow teeth. Kevin_Hart. I honestly thought the villain was Pirate Percy. I was about 5 when this show was on. Nightmare fuel. That wasn't the villain, the puppet with the mustache. That was the villain's sidekick, Horace Horrible. He had a monocle too, but it was on top of the mustache. I used to think that meant he had only one eye. But yeah, the villain was another marionette. The Skin Taker. I can't believe what they let us watch back then. Kevin Hart. Jesus H. Christ, the Skin Taker. What kind of a kid show were we watching? I seriously could not look at the screen when the Skin Taker showed up. He just descended out of nowhere on his strings. Just a dirty skeleton wearing a brown top hat and cape. And his glass eye that were too big for his skull. Christ almighty. Sky Shell. Wasn't his top hat and cloak all sewn up crazily? Was that supposed to be a children's skin? Mike Painter 65. Yeah, I think so. Remember his mouth didn't open and close. His jaw just slid back and forth. I remember the little girl said, "Why does your mouth move like that?" And the Skin Taker didn't look at the girl but at the camera and said to grind your skin. Sky Shell. I'm so relieved that other people remember this terrible show. I used to have this awful memory. A bad dream I had where the opening jingle ended. The show faded in from black and all the characters were there. But the camera was just cutting to each of their faces and they were just screaming. And the puppets and marionettes were flailing spastically and just all screaming. The girl was just moaning and crying like she had been through hours of this. I woke up many times from that nightmare. I used to wet the bed when I had it. Kevin Hart. I don't think that was a dream. I remember that. I remember that episode. Sky Shell. No, not possible. There was no plot or anything. I mean, literally just standing in place and crying and screaming for the whole show. Kevin Hart. Maybe I'm manufacturing the memory because you said it, but I swear to God, I remember seeing what you described. They just screamed. Jaren, 2005. Oh God, yes, the little girl, Janice. I remember seeing her shake and the Skin Taker screaming through his gnashing teeth. His jaw careening so wildly I thought it was about to come off the wire hinges. I turned it off and it was the last time I watched. I ran to tell my brother and we didn't have the courage to turn it back on. Mike Painter. I visited my mum today at the nursing home. I asked her about when I was little in the early 70s. When I was 8 or 9. If you remembered a kids show. Candle Cove. She said she was surprised I could remember that. And I asked why. And she said, because I used to think it was so strange that you said, "I'm going to watch Candle Cove now, Mum," and then you would tune the TV to static and just watch dead air for 30 minutes. You had a big imagination with your little pirate show. That was Candle Cove, written by Kris Straub.